I think every creative has an ideal level of media consumption that's best for them. We have to take in new inspiration. It's a need for us. It's like food. But the thing about food is, it matters what you eat and how much you eat and how varied your diet is. Don't let media consumption become a vice you fall back on that makes you feel guilty and lazy. You come home at the end of the day, you're exhausted, you know you don't have the brain power to work, you need to relax and entertain yourself, and that's okay. But when it comes time for downtime, there are two different approaches. Approach number one, you put on some comfort show you've seen 100 times, but you don't even watch it. You pull up Discord, you start chatting, you got phone, Instagram Reels, scrolling, you see your friends hanging out, guilt. I'm so lazy, I'm so stupid, guilt. Not even watching the screen, not even watching this, not even doing that, not engaged in nothing. And after a couple hours, you get that sick internet feeling, but you can't look away. It's just tunnel vision, media, black hole, nothingness, death. You feel better now? You feel rested? Of course you don't. I used to do this, okay? And once in a while, I still find myself doing it. But I vastly prefer approach number two. Approach number two is you make yourself a nice cup of coffee or tea and you sit down and you get all cozy and you say, I'm going to watch that movie I've been planning to watch. And I'm not going to look at my phone and I'm not going to do other stuff. I am watching a movie right now. I am in control. I am making a conscious choice. This is how I, an autonomous being, am choosing to spend the next 2 hours of my life. And I'm going to relax, and I'm going to recharge, and I'm just going to let something else take this brain off my hands for a while. And when it's over, you don't feel gross. You don't feel like a worthless internet slug who just wasted an evening doing nothing. You feel like a human being. You feel healthy and rejuvenated. And you cannot tell me that approach number two isn't an option, but approach number one is. If you're lucky enough to have 2 free hours and a Netflix subscription, you are capable of both. To return to the food analogy, the salad costs the same as the burger. But what if you want to get ripped? What if you're putting in work on a creative project and you want your consumption to not only be rejuvenating, but productive? Well, I think this one's obvious. Don't sit around and wait for your consumption choices to inspire your project. Allow your project to inspire your consumption choices. That way you still get to enjoy the pleasures of media, but in a way that fuels what I assume is your main goal, your project thingy. I was writing a video about romantic relationships and writing. I read The Fault in Our Stars. I'd never read it before. It was pretty good. I got to read a good book, and I got inspiration for my project. My consumption was productive. And I know I sound like a hustle bro, but unless you're some time lord, you and I have the same 24 hours. You probably spend 8 hours resting, another 8 hours working to get by. That leaves 8 free hours, which is extremely charitable. It's probably more like 4. And you're watching a 700 episode anime that you've already seen before? I'm sorry, I'm not judging you. I'm just pointing out the obvious reality of your situation. You're shoveling down comfort media, you're not getting all your vitamins, and you think you're going to have a creative breakthrough? Look, here's a good rule of thumb I use to determine if I should rewatch something. I ask myself, have I extracted all of the inspiration I can from this? Am I going to experience it through a new lens and gain new insights? Or do I know exactly what to expect? And if it's the latter, consider the possibility that maybe it's not worth your precious hours. I know, I'm being a dick. It's because I get it. I used to loop the same 3 or 4 songs over and over for hours, just walking around my neighborhood at night, maladaptive daydreaming. I thought I was having a blast. Turns out it was really, really unhealthy. My badass music night walk routine gave me so much gratification in the moment that I never even stopped to question it. But looking back on that period of my life, it never helped me grow. I still love those songs, but after a certain number of exposures, they ceased to be helpful and began holding me back. I think all media works that way. I've seen my favorite film twice, and I don't watch clips of it on YouTube. I refuse to. If I'm going to watch it, I'm going to watch it. I am going to fully engage with the art. And that doesn't mean I'm going to spend my energy analyzing it. It just means I'm going to open myself up to it, give it my full attention, and let it in. This is part of the reason I love movie theaters, because they constitute an environment where the film is the sole focus of everyone in the room. It's the same reason I use Panera as an office. This is a space solely for work. I'm using geography to tell my brain what mode to be in. I never work in my bedroom, ever, because that's where I sleep. That is the space for sleeping. And I see some of these dudes with bed, desk, TV, gaming PC, mini fridge, all in one room, and they're wondering why they can't focus. Like, gee, I wonder why your wires are getting a little crossed in the room where you do literally everything. Especially to my ADHD gang, the last thing you guys need is a hyper-accessible Nick Fury display of everything in your life. Go to the park. Walk around, brainstorm. If you have an idea, write it on a notepad. Not the Notes app, that's on your phone, and your phone is where TikTok is. Use a physical piece of paper. It's the one piece of Tarantino advice that's actually stuck with me. Outsource your focus to external pressures. Now I'm going to make fun of the pantsers again. I'm sorry, guys. This is for your own good. See, in my brain, writing has two stages. The first stage is the canon stage. You're figuring out all the characters, what they want, what they need, what they do, the plot lines, how everything weaves together, every single scene, all in this big, soulless Wikipedia article of perfect, coherent information. My channel is basically all about getting through that stage. But then the second stage is execution, where you take that canon and you turn it into art, or just the deliverable. You actually type out the screenplay or whatever. You make it resonant, you make it engaging, you make it stylish, all that good stuff. But to the most extreme pantser gardeners on the outlining spectrum, these two stages are the same thing. They're laying the tracks as they go, which to me is insane. Several months ago, I challenged the pantsers to name advantages to their writing style. I got two main answers. Number one, it helps the characters to feel more real on the page. And number two, outlining just sucks the joy out of writing. The first one pertained to prose fiction, which I don't write, so I can't really speak to that. But as for the second one, I have to agree. Outlining does suck the joy out of the writing. It's just that I don't mind. I have so much fun outlining and solving all my little canon problems and figuring out everything that happens in every scene that when the time comes for me to actually write it, I'm okay with it just being a chore. I can pump out my first draft hungover at a fucking Arby's. And it's not going to be pretty, but it's going to work. The first draft is going to work. Is that weird? No, it's not. It's smart. If you think you're ready to open up that blank final draft document and actually write a first draft, ask yourself this. Do you know what happens in every scene? What order are those scenes in? For features, are there at least 60? That's about the lowest number you can get away with. Do you have clear act breaks? Those aren't a must, but I never feel that I'm ready unless I have a clear understanding of the major movements of the story. Are there any huge holes you haven't patched yet, but you just tell yourself, oh, don't worry about that, you're ready, because you're not? The problem might go deeper than you think. You don't want to bake your problem into the story and then realize you can't rip it out without destroying the whole pie. Solve it now before you waste 2 weeks writing your draft. You're not ready. I'm telling you, I've done it. I've done it so many times. And this is why structure matters to me. Without frameworks, without theories, without tools, whatever you want to call them, you have nothing but your instincts. And most people, myself included, don't have powerful enough instincts. If we want to operate in the professional world, if we want to work with anything remotely close to efficiency, we need a plan. Okay, let's talk about collaboration. You will probably run out of steam, and you'll probably need a creative partner. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Seek out a partner who complements your style. I'm a hyper-efficiency marketing dude who's very good at problem solving, but not very good at organic idea generation. So I know that the type of partner I need is a scatterbrained auteur overflowing with what ifs and wouldn't it be cools. But if that's you, maybe you need someone like me. As for how you find a partner, well, maybe the internet isn't all bad, but take initiative. You won't find your creative soulmate on the first try. If you keep DMing people, you're going to find someone. If you go to school, look for the other writers in your community. Form a writer's room. If you internalize this idea of the lone wolf genius writer who locks themselves in a room for years to complete their masterpiece, you're going to get really discouraged when your brain stops braining. But you don't have to do this alone. Maybe the breakthrough you're looking for is going to come from someone else. Accept that. If your project is some super embarrassing secret thing you're not ready to show anyone, suck it up. You got to fight through that anxiety. Besides, they're all going to see it eventually, right? Another thing. I've had so many clients who come in with a premature draft, and mentally it's like trying to remold a clay pot after you fire it. Drafting a thing for some people makes it solid. So for those people, unless you're absolutely sure that your canon is perfect, you should not be drafting yet. You'll become attached to scenes that shouldn't logically happen, and they'll prevent your story from reaching its full potential. Finally, all of this comes with the caveat that with creative work, sometimes you will be waiting a long time for the missing piece to pop into your brain. I have no strategy for brainstorming other than to actually do it. Like, set aside time to pace and think. New ideas are like vampires. You gotta invite them in.